In the news this week, warning letter and analysis of the minister's email to Melville Mayor and councillors before the approval of the controversial bowling club lease.
Household bills and higher education, and experts' take on the upcoming government budgets.
The big battery that will bring WA's electricity grid into the 21st century.
And on Western Perspective, Bain's campaign pitch to young ratepayers as she fights to win the Perth mayoral race.
This is the Evening News with Ivan Leung and Sarah Smith.
Good evening. Local government transparency is back in the spotlight after the controversial lease for the Melville Bowling Club has passed following weeks of twists and turns. But the real climax of the drama was a strongly worded email from Local Government Minister David Templeman to the Mayor and councillors. The email was published exclusively on WAMN News shortly before the council meeting. In this extended report, we'll analyse the Minister's letter and why political experts believe it's no laughing matter. It's an email nobody expected. A strongly worded letter from Local Government Minister David Templeman was sent hours before the City of Melville Council meeting to determine the controversial lease. WAMN News was the first media outlet to publish the letter in full before the meeting. The Minister expressed his concerns in an email to the Mayor and councillors, stated that I write to you in light of some of those concerns and to strongly express my expectations and that of the broader community that the Council will make its decision about the Melville Bowling Club that are reflective of a practice that treats all community, sporting and recreation groups equitably and fairly. He also said the manner in which the Council resolves this matter will be of significant interest and closely observed. The letter comes as a surprise as the Minister stated last week on this programme that he does not intervene with individual decisions from councils.
I have made it quite clear that I don't get involved in individual decision-making in councils. It's not my role.
Despite this, the 50-year lease to the bowling club was approved. Political experts who have analysed the wording of the email believes it serves as a gentle warning reminder for elected members.
You know, he's not yet at the point where he's going to actually move in and do things, but he's certainly showing enough interest, and I think sending the right messages, you know, to people in the council and to people in every council and mayors generally that, you know, what they do, people are concerned about. They are democratically elected and they're supposed to represent the people and do their job properly. Once again, this is what the minister's trying to say. If you're not open, if you're not transparent, if you go behind closed doors, produce a decision, don't tell people about how you make the decision, and if you give someone a financial benefit, you've got questions to answer. You know, you've got something to address, and as you're saying, it looks like they're giving a financial benefit. Well, you know, they better be ready to defend that, because if that's what they're doing.
Meanwhile, Riverton MP Mike Nahan, who have blown the lid on the matter, claims the situation is open to legal challenge, while ex-Melville Mayor Russell Aubrey says the matter is a concern.
He actually has to act impartially, fairly. He cannot give it special treatment. And clearly, he and other councillors have given special treatment to the Melville Bowling Club, and the mayor, the Minister of Local Government warned them about this and opened the whole decision to legal action into the future. We heard the discussion about the microbrewery, and clearly that was being proposed by factions at the Melville Bowling Club. And I might add, the Melville Bowling Club is made up of a small number of bowlers and another people who inhabit the bar. The people who inhabit the bar dominate that club, and they will develop it for their interests, not the bowlers.
The lack of transparency, the fast-tracking of this proposed development and the lease and the concerns around this in depriving the community of Melville of this excellent facility, valued at about $20 million, and the scepticism is around.
As reported exclusively by WAMN News earlier this week, a rescind motion has been launched by 5 councillors. We'll continue our follow-up reports on this matter. And you can read the Minister's full letter and the latest reports on this matter on our website, wamnnews.com.au. Sarah.
With the state and federal budgets due to be handed down next week, what should young people expect to see coming their way over the next financial year? Certified financial planner Elson Goh joined me this week to give us an expert opinion on what household budgets will look like after next week. Elson, thanks for your time. What's in store for WA when the state and federal budgets are handed down next week?
I think this budget is probably going to be one of the most important budgets that we're going to have, because we have not had a recession for the last 30 years. So the government will probably be spending quite a lot of money to try to get the economy out of this recession. The three big ticket items that they have flagged would be infrastructure, manufacturing, and small local businesses. So these are the three big areas that they have flagged. Your personal income tax reductions that would occur in 2022 might be brought forward, and possibly the retirement income streams might be tinkered with, because we know that we are living longer and our current system is probably not sustainable.
Will this budget bring big changes to household finances? What should we expect in terms of household fees and charges?
I think in the short term, probably will not see any huge difference, because don't forget, a lot of businesses are still trying to repair their budget, and cash flows in terms of short term operating cash flows are still quite tight. So businesses are still not getting that consistent cash flows that they can expect or rely upon. So I think that's probably the short term. There'll be no huge major changes, but going forward, that is still to be seen.
What should young people keep an eye out for in these two budgets?
The government has already rumoured to be expected to spend about 326 million in higher education. So I think that's something that if young people can afford the time and the finances, do upskill themselves and looking at doing more studies or a career change, make full use of this government subsidy at this time.
Elson Go, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Environmentalists will rejoice at the news that the WA government is planning an industrial-sized battery in Kwinana to store household solar energy.
The battery will be the largest in WA and is expected to be installed by 2023. Helene Fong has the details.
In a move to cement the state's commitment to renewable energy, the WA government has announced plans for an industrial battery in Kwinana, the size of 22 tennis courts. The battery will store the glut of energy produced by solar panels during the day and will be large enough to power 160,000 homes for 2 hours.
And we have to find a way to allow for households and industry to continue to install renewable power, whilst at the same time storing it for use when the sun isn't shining and the wind isn't blowing. And this battery is exactly how we're able to do that.
Energy Minister Bill Johnston said the battery will allow WA to take advantage of the benefits of renewable energy.
It's about creating a new 21st century electricity system in Western Australia. The battery
is expected to be installed by someone in 2022 or 2023, with a price tag somewhere north of $100 million. But Synergy CEO Jason Waters said they expect to get a good deal.
We know Tesla is the most prominent in this space, but there are several manufacturers and organisations with capability in this space, and we're expecting a really competitive process.
Helene Fong, WAMN News.
The Maritime Union's WA branch has called on the McGowan government to address the soft underbelly of WA's hard border quarantine approach. The call comes after 70 cases of COVID-19 were recorded on the Patricia Oldendorff entering Port Hedland. Christy Kane expressed concerns over the lack of quarantine period for the ships that are travelling for less than 14 days before docking in WA. He urged the government to impose tighter measures on the maritime border, describing them as a weakness in the quarantine.
We're very, very vulnerable, and it has been exposed. Why should we expose West Australians in this state through the ports, bringing in overseas labour when they may have only done 6 days at sea and then allowed to come into the port? It's well below the 14 days. It is putting everyone at risk. And why not employ Australian seafarers who are COVID-free?
AMAWA spokesperson Dr. Dave Mountain called for action to combat ambulance ramping times, which hit a record high of 3,074 hours in the metro area over the last month. Ambulance ramping, when patients are held in the ambulance while waiting to be admitted to the emergency room, has dire implications for patients. Dr. Mountain said the hospital system needs more capacity to be able to cope with fluctuations in the demand for beds.
We know that there was a 100-year-old on a ramp yesterday, many others in their 90s or 80s, and some of them for very long periods of time, up to 5 hours. It's a complete disgrace that in a system like ours that we cannot provide care in a timely fashion for these people.
The WA Police have announced reaching of the milestone of 10,000 cameras signed up for the CamMap WA register of CCTV. The program will aid police in investigating crimes by giving them a one-stop shop for locating footages relevant to the investigation. WA Police Minister Michelle Roberts asked people in the community to register their cameras to aid the police. She also addressed potential privacy concerns people may have about registering for the program.
In a particular street or a particular area, police will ask you for access to the vision from that external camera. Police will not be asking you for imagery from your internal cameras.
US President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump have both tested positive for COVID-19, almost 1 month before the presidential election. President Trump had to cancel his campaign visit to the swing state of Florida after the dramatic development. Campaign trips for next week and the week after are also set to be cancelled. The president's physician says Mr. Trump and the First Lady are both well. Travel between New Zealand and Australia may become possible within weeks without the need for a 2-week mandatory quarantine period. New Zealanders will be allowed to travel to the Northern Territory and New South Wales from the 16th of October. As the federal budget is set to be handed down this coming week, the Australian government is hoping the move will help to kickstart the economy.
For those of you who are looking for some post-COVID fun, have I got news for you? GoKart Racing has been revolutionised with electric karts coming to WA for the first time. Local business Power Play combined the karts with newly designed tracks to popularise the racing experience. A 2-level indoor karting track in Joondalup is also WA's first, where the karts have adjustable seats and pedals, a carbon fibre Formula 1 steering wheel, working headlights and brake lights and safety harness. Meanwhile, the race in the dark event is a sellout, with the owners set to host more events.
The different thing with the petrol to electric is electric has instant power, so basically there's no lag, there's no smell, there's no horrible noise. There is a noise, as you can hear, but it's not a bad noise. We're still having a chat while there's karts on the track. So, and there's no fumes. So, yeah, nice environment to be in.
And that's our weekly news and current affairs. We have the latest news on the website and social media pages.
No matter where you're watching, look after yourselves and we'll see you next Sunday.
Wish you good health and take care.
Good night.